second installment of WingNut and RockHead Show.
Actually, it's just the second installment. It's not another second installment. Well, technically, I guess it is, if you count the first take. Start over.
What she said. No, that's fine. No do-overs here. All right. Hopefully you guys had a chance to check out what the show is going to look like in the first pilot episode. So we're going to expand on that now. We've had some questions that came in, and we want to answer some of those on this show. We have several other topics, and we also have a fun fact too. So anyway, let's get started. All right, who is RockHead, aka Dawn, or I should say,
Dawn.
aka RockHead? She is a veteran. She was in the Coast Guard Reserve. Got out as Chief Petty Officer. However, that's not the whole story. She trained all the new girls, all the new guys, all the newbies, the greenies that came in. Yeah, that means she was a drill instructor. How about that?
Company commander,
okay, technically. Still, drill instructor.
Did the same job.
She made everybody else do what she said, had to be done.
Hey, I did it too.
Nonetheless, she was a badass, so I guess she keeps me in line to some degree. You can see, we're going to insert a couple of photographs here so you can see what I'm talking about. For you folks that don't believe me that she could turn in from this to that. Anyway, tell us a little bit about your experience with the Coast Guard. Did you like it? What was that like, having all that power, telling everybody from a female aspect, telling everybody else, drop and give you 20 or whatever it was, run around the block or do whatever you do. Now, I'm sure you had some mentoring. I know you told me when we first met, she told me this. I was like, there's no way. And then she said, no, look. She showed me photographs. Her cover was hanging on, the cover meaning her hat, drill sergeant hat, typical, just like the Army. Down to the brim, but you'll see. So what was it like?
Well, I loved my time in the Coast Guard, but particularly that time. And like what you said about power, what was it like having that power? It's not about the power. None of it was about the power. It was more about guidance, I guess, and mentoring and supporting and providing. It was probably the best job I ever had, just because it was just so cool, because like I said, it never had anything to do with power. It was always about what you can do for these kids who come in, and sometimes they came in as adults, and they were always technically adult. Well, no, actually they weren't, because some kids came in at 17, but the majority of them were young, but there were some older people. We had programs for older people too. But it was never about anything to do with power. It was always just about just providing guidance. Kids come in lost, they come in scared, they come in damaged, they come in with direction, with hope, with promise. And they come in from all different parts of the country, and they come in with all different lives behind them. And people say we are what our what our experiences have made us. And these kids came in from all different backgrounds, some good, some bad, but in any case they were looking for something, and I just wanted to help them find it. That's all. Hopefully find their inner strength, hopefully find their motivation, hopefully find their determination. And if they didn't find it in the Coast Guard, hopefully they realized by the time they left that they were able to achieve anything that they wanted to. All they had to do was just, bring it. And so, that's what I did.
Awesome.
Helped them bring it.
Awesome. Very good. Very inspiring. You were based at Cape May, I think. Yep. You mentioned a couple of times.
Cape May, New Jersey.
New Jersey. Jersey girl on top of it too, so hometown. Anyway, shout out to that. And now what Dawn does. So, and her sort of veteran status, military I guess, aspect to this part of the show. Anyway, proud to have her. Anyway, and call her as my lady. So, all right, let's move on to questions. I think questions would be a good time. Let's get right to it.
Good time for
So
questions.
we had a bunch of people had sent in some questions. We just grabbed 3 or 4. So let's see how this goes.
Okay, question number 1 from Jared Barnard. Jared wants to know what your favorite project is to date.
Typically, I say the last one because it's always the last thing that I've touched and last thing that I've done. Dragon Lady, which is on a twin Bonanza. Again, had nose art. It was on both sides. It's painted in a military paint scheme. However, it's civilian owned. Much like, I guess, Warbirds, but I don't think this classifies as a Warbird just because, of its role. But my favorite, I guess, has to be still Diamond Lil, the B24A, operated by the CAF B24 B29 squadron down in Fort Worth, Dallas area. And it's the camaraderie working on that airplane, as most tend to go. It's just exceeds my expectations as far as the hospitality and the people surrounding and the work that goes involved and how it was treated there and everything. So they say there's nothing like Texas, and everything's bigger in Texas. That being a B-24 is one of the largest pieces, if not the largest piece of nose art that I've done to date. As well as I also went back there a second time and put on the ATC insignias on the rear fuselage, and then I provided the template stencils for the American flag, which appears on the right side of the airplane, that Rick Garvis had applied, and I watched him put that on there as well. So, yeah, Diamond Lil is still my, I think, all-time favorite. However, most recently, aside from Dragon Lady, was B25 Show Me, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But that had some pretty interesting and really nice pin-up nose art on there. So yeah, that's pretty much my, I guess, favorites today. I mean, they're all are, just because I have a lot of attachment to it and a lot of soul and heart went into every one of them. They're my gals. So anyway, at least they're out there flying and doing their thing.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Jared.
Okay, number 2 from Ben Weaver. What do you find to be your biggest challenge when approaching a new piece?
The biggest challenge has always been the research behind everything, the hours that go into doing the research. A lot of times it's not built in above and beyond the cost of the project itself. I just like to go always a step further and exhaust every bit of research that I could find based on the subject matter, a pinup or a piece of nose art. Try to look for as many photographs of that particular airplane and before I replicate it. And then there's a process of how that gets done. I figure out, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I know the panel it's going to go on, unless it's something custom that needs to be custom fabricated. That's a whole separate ball game. But it's very time consuming, and I try to keep within a certain budget. However, it doesn't always work out that way. I always go beyond what was quoted, what the costs were, but that's okay. I don't mind doing it. I learn something with every new project that I end up doing, so it benefits myself as well too. So it's not a really bad deal, and it's a passion. So I enjoy doing the research and the history behind everything. So that's pretty much it. What goes into it. I mean, I could talk a little bit more detail about it, but perhaps we could save that for another time.
We could do that.
What's
but
that?
I know you're very much a perfectionist though, and as you I'm not asking for any details here, but as you a lot of times, like as you're doing something, you'll run into like a question or something like, you know, and you'll kind of like second guess something. So then as you do some more research, you'll find something else out, you know, or maybe the second or third time you do something, you know, sometimes you find a new piece of information, and that always leads you to something else. So everything that you do is constantly growing and it's constantly improving.
Yes, it does. And there are times I'll finish a project, get shipped out, and I'll find some new piece of information a month, 2 months, or even a year later, and go, oh, wow, I didn't know that, and I must add that, or something, some detail that I may have missed, like a name or how it's spelled because the picture was blurry, and then another picture surfaces, and lo and behold, there it is. Now you have the actual evidence. So we would go back in, if it's going to be a production piece, just modify it, and then we take a picture of it, and then post it back online, take new pictures, so, you know, to update the whole piece, so to speak. So, and that happens often, you know, I mean, not all the time, but it does happen, and it's just the nature of working with history. Sometimes things change, or you uncover new things. It's just the way it works sometimes, so. Okay, thanks, Ben. Hopefully we answered that question for you.
Okay, question number 3 comes from Alan Starcher.
Alan, that name sounds familiar. That's the B24 Best Web guy, if I'm not mistaken. He's one of the guys that runs the website B24 Best Web.com. And I go to that site often when I'm working on a B24 project, either to corroborate, you know, some bit of information, reconfirm, or even find out something new, or look for a photograph of a particular piece and project that I'm working on. But his website is very informative and massive when it comes to, I guess, keeping a log of all the B-24s that existed, or at least the known ones that we know of, and he's always updating the site anyway. Serial numbers, nose art, the groups that it was attached with, fuselage codes, all that stuff. You know, it comes in handy as far as what I'm doing. So thanks, Alan, for doing that and keeping up the website, and also being on Facebook and interacting. So there's a little shout out plug for you. Anyway, what's your question?
We need more people doing stuff like that to keep history correct.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. So Alan's question is, who played Lumpy on Leave It to Beaver?
I don't know. Who's Lumpy? Leave It to Beaver? I remember the show. I don't watch it, or I didn't watch it when I was a kid growing up so much. I remember seeing a few episodes here and there. It was just too squeaky clean for, I guess, my taste. You know, I'm not saying I was a kid always in trouble, but, you know, I was mischievous like most kids. But, you know, I mean, back then the shows were, what, Lassie, Little House on the Prairie, you know, several others. You know, I like the comedy stuff like Abbott and Costello. I watched a lot. Cartoons, of course. Got to watch, you know, the cartoons. But superhero stuff, Superman, even the Superman and Batman series for the, you know, the 50s and 60s. To me, that was more my speed. You know, there wasn't a whole lot of aviation shows back then anyway, at least until Baba Black Sheep came. But that's a whole other story. We can get into that in another episode. Some really cool stories about that. But anyway, okay, so Lumpy, I don't know. Tell me who Lumpy was. Do you know?
I actually do. Not because I was such a huge Leave It to Beaver fan. I did watch a few episodes here and there, but because I just got curious by Alan's question. And Lumpy was played by Frank Bank. And Frank Bank was in the entire series from 57 or 58. I think they started shooting it in 57 or something, but I don't think it was aired until 58. And it went on until 63, if I'm not mistaken. He was also in the new Leave It to Beaver, which I don't think went very long. And then in 73, maybe? 73, he went on to become a bond broker in Los Angeles. And he died in 2013.
You did your homework. There's no notes over here. I'm telling you, we don't have any cheat sheets. I don't know what she's got in her hand.
No, these are my questions. These are just your questions. These aren't any.
That's far, I guess. I don't know if that was supposed to be a goof question or not, but that's a whole lot of Lumpy right there. So anyway, okay. Well, thank you very much for finding that out, Alan. Now you know who Lumpy is, which I'm pretty sure you already knew anyway.
I'm sure I probably missed something that Alan knew.
Okay. Well, if you can add more to that, we'd like to know a little bit more Lumpy. Speaking of lumpy, we may have a special guest coming up in a future show. Flat Tire, as he likes to be called. Yeah.
No, I'm calling him Lumpy from now on.
We'll bring it. Okay, Lumpy and Flat Tire. How's that sound? That's like Ren and Stimpy.
He's a lumpy flat tire.
That's a cartoon show. We should do that.
A flat lumpy tire.
All right. Okay. Thanks for that question.
Okay, so question number 4 from Bob Durham.
Bob. Oh, hey, another shout out and a plug. Bob Duro, one of the two, at least I think there's 2, it might be 3, administrators for Nose Art fan site, Aircraft Nose Art or Allied Aircraft Nose Art fan site. Nose Art fan site, I should know that. Posting out there every now and then. Anyway, Bob.
I'm sure there's a duh scrolling across the bottom right now.
You guys love nose art like I do. Go check out, like the page. I mean, there's tons of nose art on that site. I don't think they keep a whole running log, but I'm sure there's a way you can search for stuff in there. There's a lot of repeats, things going on there, they're reposting. But some interesting things that, you know, a lot of people in the interwebs could post about nose art. And I'm a frequent kind of poster on there anyway. So, anyway, Bob, so tell me what you got, Bob.
Okay, Bob wants to know, he says, you do a ton of artwork, but in addition to your paintings, your work involves a lot of metalworking. What goes into turning a piece of sheet metal into a replica fuselage section?
Tongue twister.
This is a great question, actually.
Yeah, well, again, we covered a little bit of the research part, but in working with, you know, somebody wants a B-52. Actually, we did a B-52 piece. That's a good example. I'll bring that up here. We used an existing, like our B-29. We just changed the rivet patterns on the panel lines on our existing sort of squares 3-piece B-29 to sort of model the side of a B-52, but it wasn't quite the same because the B-52s, I think, were very long, linear. So it took us a couple of years to kind of research and figure out how we were going to do it because it's a multi-panel piece and there's a lot of layers of panels reinforcement on the outside skin of a B-52, the left side and the right side of the nose, where a lot of the nose art resided. So I wanted to replicate that as best as I could, but again, keeping within a budget that make these affordable. So again, everything is handmade. So I would make a prototype of the panel first after I've chosen which would be the best in section to do, scale it down. The prototype, once I'm happy with that, then I would go ahead and make a blueprint of the parts. I'd kind of like do a mock-up before I rivet it together, take the parts apart, and then just draw out, measure everything, just like a blueprint per se. So this way I have everything in order to do it again. If I wanted to take a step further, like in this case, take it into production, I will go to my my metal company, basically a larger metal fabrication company who actually has the machining and the tooling to punch out large parts like car parts per se, you know, with these giant overhead turret machines. You insert a sheet of metal and then it punches out all these parts, or may even mold it, but I haven't done that with them yet, just punching out parts basically. Well, then I get them back and then rivet them, base coat them, and then apply the artwork on them. So that's basically the process, how I start to finish in putting a new sort of panel together that I have never done before. And then, of course, there's the research on the artwork, what I have to have done, and you know. So there's a lot of time, there's a lot of man hours that goes into it that's really unseen into the price. So when I get into production, you know, a lot of the custom stuff is usually twice as much as normal stuff that I do in production over and over again. So, which there are in some cases many thousands of pieces that I've done over the years. So that's the process, you know, without really showing you. I mean, I could put out a whole nother video of the shop, the blueprinting and all that, and how that all gets done as a process, but I don't have the time for it. And, you know, there'd be some trade secrets in there too that I'm probably shouldn't divulge just because of how I do things, but I mean, it's no real big secret, but I do have methods of how I do things, so, which I have employed and kind of perfected to, you know, the way I think would make things easier, but that's how that's done.
Yeah, you almost got like different sections or stages of work, you know, like when something comes in, it starts at one place.
Yeah. Well,
then
yeah.
in another section, it goes to another place.
It has
like
to,
painting section.
yeah, and the shop is set up in a way where, I mean, even though it's controlled chaos and everything's all over the place, and it's gotten that way over 25 years or so. But yeah, there are little stations where I do things, and you know, it goes around the whole shop till the very end in packaging and out the door kind of thing. And this area here is, I guess, the cleanest part of the shop, which is, you know, the showroom, and it's got the most space, you know, and you know, I expanded to do the larger pieces that I need to do, you know, that I can't fit in my shop now. It's just because we're just expanding. So, I mean, that's always a good thing, to expand rather than to shrink down. So, but trying to be as efficient as we can in the space that we have for use. But anyway, what else? What's next? Oh, next topic. I want to talk a little bit about the CAF's Missouri wing B25 Show Me, which I mentioned earlier as being one of my favorite. We'll just get into a little bit, you know, light discussion on how that was prepared and done. The group, the guys came to me and said, hey, the old gals are getting faded and we want to clean it up, modernize it, make it look new. So they sent me some pictures of it, and I was like, yeah, okay, it looks a little rough. The girl's a little out of scale, anatomically not correct. So I was like, okay, how do we fix this? So I had explained to them that we'd have to make it bigger. I mean, you have to take it off. And they're like, well, we tried taking it off. It doesn't come off. I was like, what do you mean it doesn't come off? And it's like, yeah, well, we tried a lot of stuff, and we don't want to repaint the whole nose. I'm like, okay. So now I'm dealt with having to cover and paint over what was already there. Mm-hmm. So I had to make my design a little bit larger to accommodate, you know, all that stuff. And you were gracious enough to help model in that same pose. And then they wanted a blonde and a different type of face, so, you know, more period-like. So, you know, we picked a bunch and, you know, the magic of digital and Photoshop, we were able to, you know, cross, mix, and match and do different things and come up with the final design that they said, okay, that's what we want. So I cut my template then, you know, a very large template. You know, I don't know what the square footage is, maybe 6 square feet or something like that. And then drove over westward to Missouri on a very quiet airfield that I think Boeing operates. I think it's Boeing or McDonnell Douglas. No, I think it's Boeing.
I thought you said it was Boeing.
Yeah, they have a bunch of facilities over there. Anyway, the airfield that we were on, interesting note, side note, is that there was a F-18 on a pole, and it was moving around, it was turning. It's like, what's that all about? You know, the different attitudes, and they said, oh yeah, Boeing's doing some testing, some radar cross-section testing, evaluation. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So every now and then I'll go out and you know, take a break. I see what attitude the jet's at, and you know, go look over there. And it's not, you know, it's not super secret, but it, you know, the security around there is pretty tight. So who knows with, you know, next generation of radar cross sections, or you know, that they're using, you know, to put in missiles, that kind of thing, to counter, you know, missile strikes. Anyway, so getting back to the project. So I got there and I'm putting the templates on, and you know, there were some issues with, you know, covering and whatnot, and had to put a larger border around it, which actually made it look nicer. You know, it kind of cleaned up the whole design.
Yeah,
and picking the nice color blue, so it set off the green a little bit and add a little bit of red, white, and blue. I like using red, white, and blue in my designs as subliminal kind of, you know, national pride, you know, into the design, you know, just a natural kind of thing. It's just appealing to me to use, you know, our nation's country colors and flag colors within a design as much as possible. So it turned out well, and I had to do both sides, and I started with the flesh tones, lined everything out, added some other details, and I even got my son involved. Devin ended up, he was with me, and he helped document some of the footage and whatnot.
Shot your videos.
Yeah, and that's something that we never really finished. I started doing a video on how I did that particular job. That's sort of on the sidelines now because of this show. So, but I wanted to get involved, and I had him, paint a little bit on the shoe and get his sort of feet wet, what it's like to do it. And I told him, he's only 14, 15.
At the time.
At the time, yeah. So I just, wanted to get up and close and personal with the B25, and as a kid, he's like, oh yeah, this is cool. So I said, you want to paint something? He goes, okay. I mean, he's not really a painter, but he's a little bit of artistic. Maybe some of that, came off there, but. Hopefully way down the road he can look back at that and go, yeah, I painted the shoe. So yeah, we did that. I think that whole job lasted we were there for 6 days, 5.5, 6 days. And taking our time doing it. And again, they were very gracious. They fed us a lot of the times. At lunchtime, they always said, "Okay, come on, sit down for lunch." I wasn't expecting that, and we weren't. And
Show Me beer, or wasn't that a beer?
No, yeah, they actually had a beer. Yeah, at the very end. I'll set up a photograph on that, and it was just I guess they put out their own label of local beer, and it had Show Me beer on it. So I just grabbed the can and brought it back with me. And anyway, so they were very gracious hosts there too. So that was fun, and that was at the start of COVID. So initially I was going to fly there, but decided to drive. It'd be a lot easier, less hassle, and we're dealing with our paints and everything. So it's not that big of a deal. Otherwise, we normally fly. I ship things over there, and that's how that project goes. But as you can see, from the photographs herein. Very proud of Show Me. Came out very, very nice. The faces, I think was gorgeous. They were very happy, and they were actually much like I don't want to try to pat myself too much on the back, but they always say in a lot of my projects that it comes out a lot far better after it's done. They've seen it in person than how it's described or in mock-ups or sketches and that kind of thing. So, which is always the best result you want. You want them to be a happy customer, and oh, this is better than I thought. Same thing when I ship something out, a panel, and when we talk about custom things, this is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So, that's the best compliment I guess I can get.
Well, that's I guess my. Where I can relate to that is sometimes I'll see you doing work, or I'll see you painting a panel, and I'm like, wow, that's great. And then at the end of the day, you're like, yeah, I should be done with that tomorrow. And I'm thinking, it looked done to me. But then after you look, like all those finishing touches and the little the blades of hair or the tiniest little shadow or something like that, you literally, you make it come to life. So in those final hours that you're working on something, it really does come to life. So you might, like a normal person like me, a lay person, not an artist, would see something and think, oh, it's finished, it looks great. But then when you're finished with it, you're like, oh my God, that is just... Yeah,
it's always, everything's in the details.
What you thought, yeah.
And it's so easy to actually overwork a painting too, or your piece, But I got to know when to say, okay, stop, that's enough, that's it. Because if you do too much, then you're like...
I have a fact.
Fun fact?
It's not a lot of fun, but I do have a fact, and it's very interesting. I mean, some people might consider it fun, but it's really not fun.
All right.
Between 1942 and 1945, the United States lost an average of 170 planes per day, equating to about 7 planes per hour, meaning more than 6 every 10 minutes for 3 years straight. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. And another fact is that World War II, during World War II, United States produced almost 300,000 airplanes. That's a lot of hardware, and a lot of men that are going down. Whenever the plane goes down, at least the bomber consists of heavies anyway. 10 guys, medium bombers, you know, 6, 7, 8 sometimes. And of course the fighters are single, but yeah, that's, you know, a fact that, you know, not one to be proud of, I guess, but, you know, war is war. And
People should know the facts.
War stinks, and, you know, it happened on all sides, not just our side, too. So, I mean, a lot of people died in that. But anyway, thanks for the fact. I'm not going to say fun fact, but it was a fact nonetheless.
It'll be fun next time.
Yeah.
I'll find something.
Speaking of, actually, you know, going back to that, you know, there was a bomb group called the 100th, otherwise known as the Bloody 100th, and they were called that because they were the most planes that were shot down in a bomb group, and I think a lot of it happened during Big Week. I think it was called Big Week, where there were streams of bomber of 1,000 long. I mean, you know, all you saw, you know, bombers for hours on end, just flying towards the targets. And the 100th bomb group lost a lot during that week, and of course during the whole time there. And if you want to learn more about that, there's a guy, Facebook mutual friend called Michael Faley, who is the group historian on the 100th Bomb Group, who runs the, I think it's the 100th Bomb Group Historical Society on Facebook. Check them out. They do chronicle a lot of stuff with family members, new photographs that surface, you know. But if you're interested in the 100th Bomb Group, check out Mike's page. And Mike, if you need any assistance with what I can do in nose art pertaining to the 100th, and I've done a few examples, you know where I'm at. Give me a holler one way or another.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we should give a shout out to all those people who do that, you know, maintaining the history and showing everybody, you know, like just anybody who does that, that's awesome, you know, kudos, because history needs to be remembered.
That's right. Well, I guess that's it. You guys learned a little bit today about a few topics, learned a lot about Dawn and her, you know, service as in the Coast Guard as a chief petty officer. Another side note too, the reason why we call her RockHead is because she likes rock music. You know, I like rock music, hence the kind of look. I've had a little background in music in my career, and she's a fan of rock music. We have a lot in common. We listen to a lot of the same music together, so I mean, and that certainly helps.
Yeah, and I think we need to include some pictures of Gary's former life too.
I think you guys have seen a few. I mean, with the big hair days, but no, you know, it was a good time. It was a good,
yeah,
you know, decade.
Decade of decadence.
Yeah, or two. But you know, every now and then you relive a little bit of that weekend warrior thing, and I enjoy it. I miss it. I miss playing, but I mean, I have a guitar here. If I wanted to strum and pick up now and then, I could do so. However,
And he does.
Yeah, but I don't have a lot of time anymore doing because I'm, you know, focused in on the work part. But
Yeah, we have to make time.
yeah, I do miss it though. I wish, you know, I mean, I still have material that, you know, at some point, I don't know, I'm getting older. It's getting harder to think about doing this. That's why, oh, by the way.
Some of it.
Yeah, you hear, there's a couple things, a couple
The
gems
intro.
that I found. The intro and the outro, two different songs, that pieces that I wrote back in the, I think, early 90s. And when I had a studio in my home, and I would record a lot of ideas. You know, some were drum machines. I had all kinds of friends that would come in, set up their drums, set up whatever instruments, and we would just record, you know, ideas. And those two pieces, you know, there's still a few of them, and I record everything without vocals as well too. And I just happened to go through that, and I found those two songs. I'm like, wow, that would be perfect for the intro and the outro for the show. I got so excited. So I had to find a way to get it from DAT. You know,
Yeah.
I have two DAT machines. They're both broken. I had to get another DAT machine to transfer the DAT into digital tape to digital audio and MP3. So I had to do all this finagling.
Yeah, not everybody knows what a DAT machine is.
Yeah, it means digital audio tape. And yeah, again, back in my recording days, you know, it's the last of the sort of miniature cassettes. You know, they also made a version of that for video, you know, video cassette. But anyway, that's, you know, there. But that's what I had to do. But anyway, hopefully you'll enjoy that too.
That was a fun fact.
That was a fun fact, I guess.
Yeah.
But you get to see that. But Anyway, thanks for tuning in on another episode of WingNut and RockHead Show. We hope to see you again next week. In the meantime, send us some more questions. We want to hear your feedback, what you think, how, what kind of job we're doing here.
Yeah, I love the questions.
If you got any ideas for a topic, that's great too. Send it in. We're always, we got ideas, but we want to know what you guys want to hear from. We're biased, so we want to know what you think. You want to know on what we do here, and we'll do the best we can to answer and tell you. So, all right. Thanks for having us. We look to see you again next week. Tune in.